Coming up alive? Are we coming up alive? Broadcaster seems to think so. Now we wait. Wait to see if people come to the bait. May as well use this time to clean up the desk, which can be difficult when I've got so much trash. But oh, you poor little bent tweezers. Greg is the winner. Congratulations, Greg. You win nothing. And Chris in a close second. Okay. I'm gonna need those. Get rid of spray down the bench. Alright. It's almost midnight, so it's pretty good time for me to stop working, but instead I'm about to start working. It's been a long day indeed. Too hot for me to work in the workshop most of the day, and then a schooling things to get done in the evening, and finally at the end of it all, when all the kittens are peacefully sleeping in their beds, I can get back to work. Millox, don't know that name. Welcome. Alright, guess I better get to it. eBay package arrived. So, this is the not Dave Jones knife. We'll get into this and see what we were sent. Now, from what I recall, this one should be, ideally, if the person wasn't lying, a backlight fault only. What's the bet it's more than a backlight fault? Yeah, I know you can all... Oh, marvellous packing. That's a great way to pack. Let's get a great big box, which is a good start, and then have this free floating around in it. Yeah, well, at least they did put bubble wrap, but they didn't put the bubble wrap over the edge there. So what can happen is it shakes around, this slips out until you've got an exposed chassis, and then something hits it. So yeah, make sure you close the end caps on your bubble wrap. Okay. Hey, David Legault and Peter Wilson from Canada. Ah, very nice to have people from Canada here. Don't worry, unlike most Americans, because I'm not an American, I quite like Canadians. Probably because they've got more to do with my heritage. Oh, marvellous. We've got a impact corner here. You see that shining up. The other corners seem okay. I've actually got all 4 feet. That's pretty unusual. You're an A1369. You lied. Oh, and you've smashed up all the clutch cover. This is not a 1466. Seriously? I should have known. I mean, maybe it is internally and they've just got the wrong panel on it, but I doubt it. So yeah, I guess this is going to be a 1369. Hey, fixing things in Indonesia? Wait, you were in Bali the other day. Just missed out on water damaged MacBook Air 2017 for 120 quid. That's pretty damn good. Shame you did miss out on that. Why'd you miss out? What, it sold for that and you just couldn't quite go the extra couple of pounds, I suppose. I know there's quite a few that I miss out on, which are just a couple of dollars over my bid. And it's like, damn it, why didn't I just bid that little bit more? But if you get stuck in that mentality, you end up losing probably a lot of money. So I try to keep mine at a fairly low price, and maybe, you know, out of every 4 or 5 of them, I will sort of take that slight extra risk. Can't speak. See, this is what happens after midnight. I stop speaking properly. Take the extra risk and push it another $10. But as a general rule, I try not to. Okay. Mr. SDS Telecom's in here. We are graced by fame. You one of these. You suck. God damn. I hate these boards. I'm going to check my eBay auction. I'm 99% sure it was of A1466. My eBay purchase history. See original listing. Ooh, yeah. Original listing says... The original listing says that Paul Daniels did not read the original listing properly. And it is, in fact, what it is. It's got some weird junk all over it. I do not like the look of the backlight of the LCD connector. And, oh well. Let's see. I'm going to need MagSafe 1 for these, I think. I can never remember. I know there's people out there who remember all the details on these boards and everything else that goes with it, and that's the USB-C one. Looks like I'm going to have to use my... No, can't use that. Oh wait, yes I can. Yeah, you get these people that remember everything about every board and every little nuance. That's really not me. I can barely remember the name of the customer that I saw this morning. Once I've got their money or the job is done, I'm out of there. We've got a full bong, so we're fully alive. Hey, Envin. So, Jason, I didn't get to see those stencil things enough. Are they like made out of plastic or metal or what? Those ones that Kwai Lun or whatever their name is sent you. I might have to try some. Hey, Mark Prince. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a while here. Let's see. I really need to get a screen up here so that when... a camera, I should rather say. So that when I'm reading your text, I'm looking at you and... Okay, well, I've got a flashing... You guys cannot see that. And I'm not going to put a UV light through there. But there's a flashing logo, so... Yeah, we got backlight failure of some type. Let's get into it. Metal with some kind of coating. Oh, alright. So what is it, like a Teflon coating or something? I didn't really get a chance to have a look because I had other things I had to get to. Let's put this aside somewhere where I'll lose it. Over there would be perfect. Now, because this is going to be mine, I can scratch it up as much as I like, and oh yeah, I see, yeah, Please do, oh, you bastard. Oh, well that just ruins the night. Sorry everybody, night's over. Yeah, they've ruined the connector. So it's basically, yeah, so basically it works, but the screen... backlight drive is dead, and it's probably, given that it did that, I'm guessing maybe the screen, oh, I know what's probably happened. That clutch cover is the clue. See this, how it's cracked and damaged? I wonder if they pinched it. And you don't look very pretty either. Let's see what other, oh, hell. It's still a mess. It's amazing this thing boots. These things will normally just drop dead if you look at them funny. And this one's managed to survive a backlight blowout and some other trash. I wonder what we've got on the other side of the board. And I really don't want to have to split this screen so I can change that cable. It's not going to be... This thing is running because it wants to be alive. Look at that. I just killed it. I was too enraged to care about it. Forgot to turn it off properly. It was running off its battery. I could have blown the backlight. Oh no. Obviously I didn't. Oh, Mark, at least it's been crazy for you. Hopefully crazy profitable too, not just crazy and not profitable. Lewis triggered? What? Oh, g'day, Dragon. Where was Lewis? Well, we'll take this board out. It's got to come out anyway because that's got to be replaced. And we'll have a look at the other side. At least we know the CPU's alive. This here pretty much should be removed. And you're out of focus slightly. It looks like the camera and I do not agree tonight. So I'll focus the camera and then I'll adjust my eyeballs one at a time, Paul. The trouble with adjusting your eyes and everything at this time of the night is that when you wake up in the morning it's all wrong again. Alright, we'll get it out of here. This is definitely yet another disappointment. It's not been bad. I've had my fair share of rabbit hole iPhone 7s for sure. What sort of rabbit holes you're getting with the iPhone 7? I don't really deal with them much. STS obviously does. When I get an iPhone 7, I send it off to Bill down at A1 Mobiles down in Melbourne. I think it's Melbourne. I don't do them myself. I haven't yet developed the sense of ambition to quite push myself that far. Mostly because if I stuff up an iPhone 7, say if I stuff up the home button, there's no local Apple store that I can send it to and go, hereby pay my guilt fee, can you please fix this up for me? Reset it or repair it or whatever they do. I don't have one of those locally. The closest one's about 1,600 kilometers away. Ultrasonic is your friend, yeah, but I don't want to make friends with the Ultrasonic at the moment. It's too dirty. The Ultrasonic is just too dirty. But like I said, I got to change that connector anyway. Okay, let's get these screws out. So disappointed. Yet I knew what I was getting into. It's kind of a bit of a hypocrite in me there. It's a lot of corrupted data and the good old baseband CPUs. Pull and reball baseball. Is it underfilled on the iPhone 7? Because I do the baseband CPU on the 6 without a problem. I haven't done any audio ICs on the 7. It seems like it's not overly dissimilar in density compared to the 6 baseband CPU, but I think the thing that gets me is mind you can lift a lot of things with too much heat on the 7, can't you, when you're doing that audio IC fix? I've seen quite a few people crying about it on the Rossmann Discord and a couple of other places where they put too much heat on their audio IC and I think a couple of balls pop out the CPU on the other side. Thick plastic underfit. Oh, disgusting. Gross. I mean, I was whining about the underfilled TriStar on the SE the other night. I mean, that was annoying enough, but at least with the SE TriStar, you have an actual point of access. I don't know how you guys get the underfill chips off without being able to slide something under it. You just go for the hot solder top and just twist it off, I imagine. I'm just guessing what you guys do. The stuff's just too small for me at the moment. Preheater, it'll warm air from the quick and it's not too bad. Okay, so do you get the tweezers around the chip and then twist it off, or do you get a chip lifter under it to get it to separate from the balls? Try CNC. I've seen them do the CNC art, but that was quite a few years ago, back when the iPhone 5s were the problem. As far as I understand, the issue they kept running into was the vibration was too much and it would cause secondary damage. Hey, Skippy. Did Jason already leave? Did I bore him to death? How disappointing. I know he's pretty busy though. Living it up. The good life down there in Florida. The beaches. Warm winters. Actually, I don't care about warm winters. I like my cold winters. Ooh. Oh. How does this thing even boot? Really? I do not know how this boots. It's amazing. I get boards in and there's nothing wrong with them visually, and they have no, they're completely dead otherwise, but this, it's a mess. How does that even boot? Really, look at that. What is that? You a resistor or you a cap? I don't know. You were something, at some point in your life, you were something. Someone cared for you, and now you're a charred remains of. It's a war zone. It's like someone hit it with a nuke, a new Donald Trump nuclear. Oh my goodness, what happened here? Wow. I think it's probably looks worse. I think something actually just squirted over it all, and then its dried out state looks like charcoal. Man, you need to shave something bad. There is no way this board should be booting up like that. This board should be flying the white flag. What's the bet? There's no damage on the... Come on, let's have a look at this ball. Turn it the right way up so Lewis doesn't have a coronary. Where'd it go? I'm not used to... Where did that chip go? Damn you, Lewis. Making me turn my board upside down to suit you Northern Hemisphere freaks. And now I've lost my USB drive. Oh, there it is. And the ball is perfectly fine. Figures. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. That's a fine looking backlight driver. Hey Mark, well, I'm glad you like the software. Did you get the 883 version, the one that's got all the part find facilities and things like that? I am working on trying to work out how to load up the board view as well as the PDF in the part find facility. It's just a little tricky because there's no direct association between, until you set one up, there's no direct association between a PDF and the board view. And the way we normally do the board views at the moment is we load the board view and then we bind a PDF to it. So I think what we're going to have to do is a secret society is going to have to create a archive of board files, and they're going to have one board file and one schematic in each folder, and then that way I can just look for that and load it accordingly. So if schematic in A1369 folder has the part we want, we know we can just load the board file that's in there. Now, most of this junk is actually probably... I just can't get over this war zone here. Really, it's... yeah, someone dropped one right there. Most matching file name, that would work, but yeah, I'd prefer if we went with the one schematic, one PDF, one board view in a folder method, because then I don't have to try the heuristics. I mean, heuristics are good for a lot of things, but I can guarantee you someone's going to get a real little bee in their bonnet over it one day. The other way is I can just simply... I suppose I could offer a set of options, say these are the available board views you could try. But it's just so much more work. I've done my work. I just want to sit back and hear the cash register ring every day, multiple times. 10 times a day would be really nice. Then I could actually retire. As long as it happened for about a year non-stop, that'd just be lovely. Thanks. I appreciate you all doing that. This could be trouble to see how it's right next to ours. This is a PCH or an MCP? Yeah, whatever it is, I think the substance itself is the more dramatic component as opposed to the parts corroding. Not sure what it is. Coke, maybe? Wine? Red wine? Well, let's get this off. To do that, I'm going to need to get my heat mat somewhere. Why is it every time I bring up my heat mat, it needs a wash? I mean, it's not like it's lying on the floor of my workshop that has an open window to the outside world at times, and the trucks going past with their diesel fumes and the dust being blown in by the winds. Nothing like that. Damn it, now I want a coffee. It's midnight. Not that that has stopped me before. I will gladly have a coffee at midnight. Alright. At least we get to get rid of these things a bit. Now, I don't do them quite as aggressively as some unmentionable people. I'm a little gentler to my parts. I might actually try something tonight, since this is my own experimental board. I do have some display connectors, yes. I bought them for this one a little while ago. Now, yes, let's go back to straight nozzles. I think for too long I have enlisted myself to the lies of the bent nozzle. tweezers. Jason, what would you know about flux? I've seen your earlier videos, and when it comes to flux, you put a little piece on a toothpick and then you spend the next 5 minutes raving about how you put too much flux on your mason chip because it was just a wee bit too much on the end of a toothpick. I know your kind. Why does this feel so wimpy? Because I haven't got my distance, my hand-eye board distance correlations down right, because this is a new tip. It'd be nice if they had a 30-degree tip rather than the 45. So I find 45 a little bit too aggressive, but 30 would be nice. Hey, Pop-Tart. I'm so mean. I'm saying it. He's right here. I'm talking to him. Hi, Jason. It's okay. He'll just abuse me later anyway. He'll send through some hurtful comment about my TriStars or something. He knows how to get back at me. Or maybe claim that I'm actually a conspiracy enabler by the fact that I'm pretending to be in Australia when Australia doesn't actually exist, because it's just impossible. What are you sticking there for? Don't stick. E-Digit regarding the iPhone board files, yes, partially. The problem is that for Flexboard View, the iPhone board files have come from the PADS system, and the PADS files are actually pretty damn dodgy if you ask me, the data in them. So I did a fair bit of manual rework on them to try and make them more usable, and I mean they're not too bad, but like the iPhone 6 one, it's just a disaster. I really would like to just do them from scratch completely. Let's see, I need a connector. Where's my connectors? Not you. Let's see. It's got a GTX 550 Ti, €5. Whew. Oh wow, yeah, that's a pretty good deal. €5 for a 550. You did well there. How did the inductor get knocked off that? So yeah, if people appropriately message me or something, I can direct them towards iPhone board views, but like I said, I do pre-warn you that they are not to the same level of completion or reliability as the MacBook ones, so be fair warned. But it is very convenient. Like, let me just bring up one anyway. Let's see. Well, that's a terrible old one. Alright, so like this is the 7. And I'll just kill the microscope there. The 7 isn't too bad. There's a couple of issues with it, but yeah, it's overall not too bad. Looks like I've got the old version of my software here. I think the capacitors are a little bit oversized. But I'll show you what some of the other ones are, like iPhone 6. So this is just, they're essentially nearly incomplete. There's no outline. And on some of them, the connector pins got the wrong number on them. Particularly around here, there's a problem with a couple of them not having enough pins or too many pins. So there are definitely issues with it. It's not the flex board view that's at fault, it's just... And I pressed the wrong key. Oh man. Oop, that's better. Yeah, that's better. Let's see. Alright, I gotta find a appropriately matching backlight connector. There's a lot of things I should be doing. There's a lot of work I should be doing on board views, software to make board views, things like that. But it's just so damn hard to find the time. Yeah. Okay, well it looks like these ones here are the match that I'm after. Do they have the locating pins? They do. Excellent. A minor win tonight. That's nice. I don't even think I was thinking when I picked up a lot of these. I just saw MacBook LCD connectors, and I just said I'll take one of everything that I can think of. So I'm just going to write on these. MacBook Air. So the next time I am looking around, I have a pretty good chance of finding them quicker. Now I know some people like to make sound effects when they're putting their parts back on, but that's probably not going to be me. About the only sound effects I make are socially unacceptable ones, or just moans and groans about things going wrong. I'm glad it made money for you. I mean, obviously open board view still works and it still gets developed, but yeah, certainly I find with flex board view at least, just being able to jump back and forth between the PDF and the board view makes life so much easier. Hey, Adam Rotzinger. I'm clearly pronouncing that wrong, but it's the best I can do for this time of the night, with 3/4 of my brain assigned to fixing up a LCD connector that I won't have a display for. I guess the question I've got is, will the display actually work if I replace that cable, which means I have to split the display open, which is no fun? Or is it more likely that the LED backlight string or system or whatever in the is already dead? It's dead, Jim. Support the developer. What? You're saying support the developer? Oh, can't do that. Why should you? Software should be free for everybody, and I should be pressing down on that. There we go. I can't believe it's not factory connection. Okay, it's not really that good. I have already had some people starting to scam me with the purchasing of the licenses, so they'll try to get a license and then they'll make up some reason why they should be refunded. And don't get me wrong, I'm a very generous, nice person, and I do tend to respond against the better judgment sometimes and issue certain refunds, but there's been a few lately and it's like, my goodness man, you know, that's a nice scam, try it again. So really, how desperate do you have to be to scam someone out of their... I suppose there's plenty of people that are like that, isn't there? And the world's full of them. Can't believe it ain't butter. Oh, I haven't heard that one for a while. That looks pretty much perfect. I do love it when it goes clean like that. I should probably shut my mouth until I've actually looked at it from the side, because for all I know it could be a complete disaster. Yes, some people just want to watch the world burn. I will confess there are certain things that I would like to see just happen, and certain people vanquished from this existence, but then who doesn't? But overall, I'm not really a fan of the world burn type scenario. Oh, I forgot to do the 2 support tags on the side there. Oops. Yeah, they came up pretty nice. That's good, given that I have no idea what the quality of these connectors was going to be. Sorry, I missed all the chat. Hey, Tero, thanks for coming in. Oliver Stocks, haven't seen you before. Yes, I have. Who am I kidding? I'm a developer and no one supports me, I presume you mean to say? I mean, I've been doing the open source for as long as I can remember. I was doing open source before it became known as open source. I'd just do stuff for free. But I mean, a lot of people on the bulletin board world or the Unix world back then were doing things for free. It was just, it was just the culture. But then it became a bit of a thing. Of course, it's easy to do things for free like that when you're being paid for something else. Like if you've got your essentials covered, then you can do more of that sort of stuff for free, because it doesn't impact your ability to put food on the table. But there does seem to be a bit of a push for people to do things for free against their better... against their self-preservation, so to speak. And if they rise up against it, then there's a block of society that comes down and says, how dare you even consider asking for money. It's, it's a real Oliver type situation. Please, sir. Let's see. I got to catch up on chat. Sorry, I was too busy focusing on that connector. Let's see. A large part of it is people hate spending money but love to say they support. Yep. It's easy to say. In Futurama, there was actually a really nice statement made by Hermes, who's the accountant, and his kids, or the kids of Farnsworth and Hermes, had smashed a window, and they felt guilty about it and all that. And in the end, Hermes said, "Now, what should we do?" And the kids said, "Oh, we should go back and say sorry, and we should go back and offer to pay for the broken window." And then Hermes is like, "Oh, no. He says, you just use nice, cheap words." And he's right. It's like, most people sort of go, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that," and then expect not to have to pay for it. So yeah, nice, cheap words. I hear a lot of that. I'm sure we all do. It's, I guess because there's not a lot of difference between OBV and Flexboard View, and they shy away for a refund. I think you should make it so it won't work on OBV anymore, and you have to purchase. Oh, you mean like board files and things like that, maybe? Paul LLC, you asking me how old I am? Well, yeah, I'm something around about that. There's a sense of entitlement surrounding software. I think it's a case of, because it's not a tangible physical product, it makes people feel funny, particularly when it's a download. And they feel like, well, what have I got? I got vaporware. Land my first job after a project that was open source I released as a little I can do that. Land my first job after a project that was open source I released. Not quite sure what. The route of all evil, that's the one. Thank you, Station 240. Yes. So, yeah, the joke with my wife and I now is whenever we can, we use nice, cheap words. And they work a lot of the time, and people try to use that all the time. And we're like, no, sorry, I need something a little better than cheap words. It's like when people offer you exposure as a payment for something, and I'm sure we've all seen the cartoon around or something like that basically says, you can die from exposure, and it's correct. You can die from exposure because really, you need money. Yeah, you're all messed up. You have to come off too. I'm normally one for not pulling off these connectors, the diagnostic connectors, but that one has corroded through, so it's got to come off. I'm not needlessly prejudiced against diagnostic connectors. I think if I ever met Lewis in real life, we would probably at some point reach the point where we would have to draw swords at each other over the lives of diagnostic connectors. Now, some of that could be because of the fact that being an electronics developer, I like diagnostic connectors. It's like that saves me a lot of drama. But I think it's all in good humour. Hey, RickTech. Oh, see, Mike the Mixer here. What do you think about putting software closed source patent force people to buy new devices because of that? What, you mean like Apple? I'm not a fan of the way that software updates can sort of corner you to the point where you basically have no choice but to upgrade. It's different if the environment around you changes and you have to get a new device to suit the new environment. But when they change the actual device itself, yeah, that's not so much fun. Personally, I think Apple was doing pretty good until, until we got to the iPhone 7 and until we started getting these. Well, after we got past the A1466s and the A1502s, then Apple started really bringing the thumb screws down on us, and I think they lost the plot there. I could understand to a degree what they were doing before, but now the fact that they're alienating a greater percentage of their own previously very supportive crowd isn't doing them any favors. I'm a little worried about this section here. I think I'll give it a light boiling. I removed a JTAG with Lewis last night. It was anticlimactic. Well, you're actually with Lewis Rossman and you were like doing the whole Ghost, Patrick Swayze togetherness, removing a JTAG connector? That sounds interesting. With Unchained Melody playing in the background. I don't want to get this too hot around here because I don't know what's going to happen to that PCH, MCP, I don't know what it is. I think it's a PCH. Certainly when it comes to software, like with Flexboard View, I still feel like you can do, if you're just a casual one machine a day or, maybe one a week or something, then it's probably not really a match for you. And if you buy it, then I guess you're really more doing it for my sake, and I appreciate that greatly, really. I'm trying not to sound facetious or sarcastic or anything. I legitimately am very grateful for it. But if you're using it, say, 3 or 4 times a day, then I would definitely say, you're getting your money's worth. For sure. Just purely in the time saved. Guess who didn't turn on their ultrasonic cleaner? Like I said, I can't believe this thing actually boots. The chili cheese dog, I crave chili cheese dogs. I gotta admit though, I'm trying to find a good alternative to the dog part. Mostly, I do still eat some meat, but I can't really stomach that stuff that's in the hot dogs anymore. This is all predominantly just dust. So might as well take the heatsink off. New York. Yeah, you know, sometimes I do get tempted to unleash the old me and do stupid stuff like go out, get my passport again, and go for a weekend visit off to New York. Turn up at certain stores with a well-charged Dremel in my hand at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Well, this basically just does need to sit in the ultrasonic now. There's nothing much else I can do. I've done the main thing, which was the LVDS connector. Let's go turn on this ultrasonic. Cheap, nasty eBay ultrasonic cleaner. Certainly coding the software does take a long time. More than you expect. Even after all these years, you still manage to fool yourself into doing code that probably is going to take far longer than you assume it will. That's part of being a programmer, I think, is being an eternal optimist, forever hopeful that you'll get it done this time in 4 hours rather than 4 weeks. Because if you lose that optimism, you'll never start. And it does, you do lose it a bit as the years go by. For the first, say, 10 years, you'll dive into projects just blindly and code and drink and code and drink and code and drink. But then eventually you wake up and sort of go, oh, I've been through here before a few too many times, I don't want to do it again. And you start getting selective with what you're doing. You become a little more pessimistic, but you still ultimately got to have that bit of hope in there. Eventually you manage to con yourself into going to the keyboard and start tapping out the code. Hey Q, too early for you there, is it? Alright, I think that's done. So it's a little bit early tonight, so what I'm going to do is I've actually got to change the screen on my own phone. So I'll just save all these bits. Paul's not so ideal eBay special. Glad I didn't pay much for it. It was still, I don't know why I thought that I was going to get a 1466. I guess I was dreaming. So does someone want to come and change the cable for me on that screen? It's not going to be fun. I found I can split them open, that front bezel off and everything, fairly easily with the... I've got a heat map. So I use that with playing cards and that works pretty good. It is pretty hard though unrolling those circuit boards out from the screen itself. I don't know why I'm cleaning this, because when I stick it on the floor, as I mentioned before, it's going to just get all junky. Yeah. Yeah, it takes forever to get to the cable. And they don't seem to ever go back together properly. And there's no guarantee that this is even going to be the cable. It could be something else for all I know. As in the screen itself, so like I changed the screen cable, it's like, is it really going to be that? Actually, come to think of it, maybe I can test it, because I do have another one here. And this one, this screen was, this is about a month ago I pulled this thing apart. This is also a 1369. Is that right? 1369? Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, so the bezel's off, that's no problem. That... No, I really shouldn't be doing that. I'd be scratching up the coating on it. But, yeah, getting this section out, what a major pain in the posterior. Like having to roll it out. I don't know why they do that. You know, what is it? Oh, wait, it's Apple. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know to what extent I can actually unroll this. But so this one had... what was your problem, buddy? Can't remember now. Oh, I think this one was just completely... Oh, no, this was glitching. But I think it's actually the LCD panel itself, because if you can see there's a impact in this corner here. And I think it must have taken some hairline fractures or something through there, because it'll start glitching and fading out like it's got an over brightness, and then you just sort of grab the corner and it'll come good again, which really does not make me think it's going to be this connector. So this is actually probably going to work, which means I can then put it into my other one that we've just got today, and maybe we'll have a win. But I'm definitely not doing that right now, because that requires far too much dexterity, and yeah, and I'm trying to keep this family rated, maybe. Try, perhaps, maybe. Anyway. But I was surprised this temperature, this heating pad was more useful than I thought it was going to be. Alright, now I need to go get my phone and the screen and get it replaced. I'll be back in a second. I guess you could say this is my lullaby repair. Something I can do as I go to sleep. So yes, that's right, I have a rose gold iPhone 6s Plus. I used to have a Sony Xperia Z. What? I don't even have screws in the bottom? Oh, I'm a terrible person. I could have sworn I left them in there. Guess not. I was probably showing someone something. I forgot to put my screws back in. Now this screen is a cheap, nasty aftermarket one. Here in Australia, I think they currently sell for $33 or something like that. Whereas a proper refurb one is about $90 in Australia. Now I don't use the cheap aftermarket ones for my customers. I use the proper refurbs. But since this is me I'm talking about, I'm going to use cheap, nasty aftermarket on myself. Because I care. Because nothing gives you frustrations like your cheap, nasty aftermarket screen deciding that you took your finger off the screen just as you're about to make the perfect best fiends attack. Not that I would play that game much. It's to keep the brain well exercised. This one always had problems anyway. Right from the day I got it, it was a wee bit dodgy somewhere. And I just put up with it. But the trouble is, if I gave this to a customer and said, yeah, look, you know, it's $50 cheaper than the proper one, they would still expect the quality to be that of a proper high-end one. And that's why I just don't sell the cheap screens to people. Because it's only just going to come back and cause me drama. Yes, my favorite spudger, and it's developing. Its cavities are getting bigger. So let's have a look. See that cavities are getting out of hand now. On the upside, I have found that quite useful in some ways. With when I'm trying to, well, this is going to be one of those cases when I'm trying to get the flex off. That notch lets me hook in a little better. Not that I recommend deliberately having cavities in my phone, my tools. I didn't put down a... How naughty. I didn't have any adhesive strips on the home button, so it could have just swiveled around. And I would have lost my Touch ID that I don't use. Speaking of which, has anyone used one of those iPhone 7 home button repair flexes? The new ones that are coming out, I see they're about $30-40. Are they any good? Do they work well? Do you think Apple's going to shut them down? I suppose that's always a permanent yes answer. Yeah, I quite like the Sony Xperia. It was a very good phone. But in the end, it just started getting too slow. I could have gone up to like a newer one, Xperia Z3 or 4, or I don't know what they got up to. But I was a little bit put off by the fact that on the original Z they used the USB micro A, I think it was, connector, the one that you can pretty much put either way up. I used to get them in quite regularly for repair. People would install their micro USB charger in upside down and it would break the connector. Okay. Sorry, screen. It was nice knowing. Yeah, I suppose I can use this one actually. I'll put that screen aside. And I'll just simply say glitchy, but works. Glitchy, but works. X PLD. So when I go through the trash bin later, I can go, oh, that's my old one. We got another stream. Where's another stream? Oh, wait, you're talking about this one. Hey, Aaron. Sad story. For the longest time, I would not do iPhone 6S repairs because I thought they were going to be very difficult. Well, it wasn't so much that they were going to be difficult. It was a case of the replacement screen was very expensive. And yeah, I just wasn't really quite ready to risk it. But then the price came down enough that it was like, okay, I can now charge people enough that if I make a mistake on the screen, I can buy another screen, make no profit, but still not make a loss. And then at that point, I was willing, got into them. And then I was like, oh, these aren't so bad. And I would do 7s as well, except for the fact, as I was talking about earlier, the lack of a local Apple store in the event that something goes wrong with the home button. So if the home button flexes do the job really well, then I can always have that as a fallback, so to speak. Yeah, and it's the new future MacBook. It's the compact phone MacBook. It's going to replace the iPhone. Worst bit about doing your own stuff is that you really just don't care. So what am I going to do? Complain to myself? Demand a refund? Come back in 6 months after I've dropped it 6 times at least, and there's cracks all over it, and say, it just stopped working. It didn't even drop it that far. It was only 2 centimeters off the ground onto a plush carpet floor. There's no way it should have broken like that. You sold myself faulty screens. I mean, thinking of how to do a video regarding that whole time versus durability mentality, whereby for at least the first month or so, a phone screen should take absolutely anything thrown at it. It should not ever crack. And if it does, it's because it was poor quality or poor workmanship or something. And then after about 3 or 4 years, it's tolerable for a screen to break. Maybe after it's been thrown from a car traveling at 100 kilometers an hour down a ravine with an avalanche of boulders following behind it. I guess that's just human psychology, though. It's one thing to feel it, it's another to act on it. Oh no, you don't. You get back in there. Yeah, Q's, they're not much fun. The rage damage phones. I've had a couple of them lately, and it hasn't been very nice, the outcome. A lot of the time, they're actually killing the phones. I've had one, they smashed the PMIC somehow. Must have been just real bad luck. Because I can't imagine how they'd... no, microscope. Well, the other one is where their friend has smashed it. But the friend then doesn't want to pay the fee to get things fixed. I'm like, you're too expensive, man. I know someone who can do this for much cheaper. And I'm like, oh, God, here I go again. It's like, fine, take it to your whatever mystery person that does it really cheap. And if they do a good job, let me know who they are, because I'll send my stuff to them. So I can just sit here and scam you all and get someone else to do the hard work while I reap in the profits. What the heck? This is not going to plan. Oh, come on. Jason's gonna kill me if he sees me doing this. He's like, you didn't glue it down. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I don't use phones for phones. So things like proximity sensors just don't matter to me. Squish it around until it all sits tight. Yep. To be honest, I haven't even found a glue that I can depend on for that sort of stuff. You put super glue in there and chances are you'll fog up the viewport. You put B9000 in there, and it's probably whatever it is, B6000, and it'll probably just gum up everything and not sit flat. Okay. And I'm not going to bother putting the compression pads on here. Actually, maybe a few of you who do these a lot more, Jason, I've noticed that, sorry, I scratched my nose there. I've noticed that some phones, we're talking factory ones that have never been opened before, some of them will have compression pads or foam pads on the connectors, and others will not. So it's just a little weird seeing them without them. Specifically on the 6S, I've noticed. So I don't know whether someone just simply ran out on the production line, or whether they decided, yeah, we just really don't care. Okay, the biggest gamble of all. Do you close up the whole phone completely before you test it? Or do you test before you close? Certainly with the iPhone 4 and 4S, it was something that was a constant debate in my head. Just because of the rather substantial amount of work you have to do to get those phones screens back on and off. Yeah, certainly the battery absolutely needs the pads on them. Ah! Thank you. You're a bad fitting screen. It's got one of those fat bezel edges. It's not very profile-like. Let's see. I didn't even have to wear gloves for mine. It's my own phone. That reboot gets me almost every time. Why are you... That colour is wrong. I've got what looks almost like a brown-orange colour on my screen. Okay. I'm guessing I've got night... whatchamacallit on. Night shift is on. There we go. Now we're back to normal. Okay, so this has got a warmer lighting to it. Well, that's working. Good. I'll be able to give that back to myself. Charge myself. I'll be able to now answer people without having to... What I've been doing for the last week is, like, I'll use the phone like normal, putting in a message, and then when I want to send it, I have to turn it around because the strip on the side there was all dead. And so I couldn't press the send, and also the letter P wasn't working, so a few of my messages went out a bit funny. Alright. Rule number one, never fix your own stuff. Well, in this case I'm going to have to violate that rule because of the fact that it's 1 o'clock in the morning. What? Oh well. I better put my night shift back on. It does do a nice job for me. It's just a little intense though. But it could be because the lights in here are slightly more on the daylight side. Alright. That's it. Okay, 1 o'clock. I need to head off to do my other things. So thank you very much for dropping in and sharing my disappointment with me. The ultrasonic cleaner is only at 36 degrees centigrade at the moment. I've got to get up to 65. So chances are I'll probably dip that in just before I head off to sleep, which is kind of weird. And I'll look at splitting that screen and trying the other connector on. So it'll be interesting to see whether it's the backlight string that's at fault, which is going to be a little risky because if I go through all that work and put the new cable on and it's the backlight string, there's a short in there somewhere, pardon me, and I reconnect it, then I'm just going to burn another cable. So, oh well. But anyway, thank you all. I'll see you next time. I don't have any more eBay specials coming in for a while, it seems. I just haven't been able to pick up any, so it's kind of killing the disappointment a bit, but I should have some more normal jobs, actual customer jobs coming in, so we'll try and get those done. Until then, you all take care. Thanks again.